Listen to us. We should be in a band. We should be in a band together.
What are we called? What's our name?
Band name is
Oh, it's definitely Cloud Creed.
Cloud Creed.
As long as Cloud is first and Creed is not involved at all, then I'm good.
Fine, Cloud
Mark Tremonti
Snap.
just agreed. Mark Tremonti just agreed to be our guitarist, so we're good.
Yes.
Yeah, he can play guitar, and I'll do my best staff impersonation.
Our band is off to a great start already.
Did you guys hear?
There's a cloud coming over me.
When he did the Florida Marlins theme song.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I shared this. It's one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah.
When he did the "Come on Marlins."
Is that baseball? Because I don't do baseball.
Make us proud.
Yes. It was when he was like living in Miami.
He was
So
like homeless,
stupid.
and they were like, "Hey, do you want to make a couple bucks?"
Aw, that's actually sad.
That is sad.
That is sad.
Sad with an
That really is
exclamation point.
Yeah, numerous.
Sad.
Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
All right, episode 81 of Fathers of the Grind begins now. Our friend, I think, well, at least my friend, I don't know how Derek feels about him. My friend Daniel Freitas is here. Daniel, hello.
Oh, hello. Don't mind my friend here, Cloud. He's joining also. Hey, I'm Cloud, and
Strife.
I'm in the best
Yes,
Final
man.
Fantasy game ever made. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Shut up, Cloud. Sit down.
You did a terrible Cloud voice. Like,
Yeah, that was
it
a bad
literally
Cloud.
sounds like
Listen.
DFC.
I don't do VO,
Hey guys,
so
I'm Cloud.
I don't do
I'm
VO.
Cloud.
Otherwise, I'd be rolling in the Benjamins or whatever they say in those rap songs. So I don't know.
Gosh.
And the yen.
And yeah,
All right, and Derek Teague is here. Hello, Derek.
Hey, how you doing? How's it going?
And my name is Tim Nestor. Here we are with episode 81. We're going to talk all about, speaking of Cloud, Final Fantasy. Unfortunately, not Final Fantasy VII, but it's still appropriate that you
Say
brought
fortunate.
Cloud along for the ride. By the way, quick question. Now that you got me thinking about Final Fantasy VII, when will the remake come out? At least the first part of it.
listen, Tim.
Hit me with it.
All
2020.
we need from you is just to be excited. Just please be excited. All right. Just
Please be
Just
excited?
please be
Oh.
excited. That's
And
all.
please understand.
They need your excitement
understand.
because if they don't have that, then there's nothing to live for. So, yeah.
I'm going to say part 1 comes out in 2019, and then part 2 never comes out. That's what I think.
There you go.
It gets canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, part 2 gets canceled.
Yes.
And by the way, part 1 is just going to be them on the train. Like, that's it. And then before the first battle, it's like, stay tuned for part 2.
It's
And
just
so-
the opening cutscene and then that
Yeah.
cool song, and that's it.
So there's going to be
That's
like
it.
47 parts, is what you're implying.
Yeah.
that's the implication.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So for those of you who don't know Daniel, he joined us a while back, and I forget what we even talked about. Talk about Game of the Year stuff, maybe. What do we even talk about? when we were-
Well, definitely Final Fantasy stuff, obviously.
Okay.
Because that's what
yeah,
I.
I think he
Oh,
came
we
on
ranked Final
before-
Fantasy.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, he did the ranking
right.
of Final Fantasy, but it was before Final Fantasy 15.
Yes. Which-
no, it was after
Was it?
Yeah, it was after.
Yeah,
it
'cause
was
it was after.
Because 15 was on
Yeah.
there.
because we included it in that list and talked about it a
I
little
think
bit.
15.
Yeah, and I told him it's the best Final Fantasy.
Well, you're wrong, but it was, I think, my fifth favorite. So
Yeah, I think we did a little bit of a post-mortem on Final Fantasy 15, and then we ranked all the Final Fantasy games. So go back and check that one out, you guys, if you are Final Fantasy fans and haven't listened to that one. I know we got some new listeners this summer, so if Final Fantasy is your jam, go check that out. We will be talking about the recent re-release of Final Fantasy XII in a little bit. If that's totally not your thing and you're about to shut this podcast off, just hang on. We'll talk about a few other things first, and then shut it off. So before we get to that, let's talk about some stuff that we're playing. So Daniel, let's go to you first. What are you playing right now?
well, sneak peek, because you just mentioned Final Fantasy XII. If you listen to that older episode, Final Fantasy XII is going higher on my list now.
Uh-oh.
So just a little sneak peek.
All right.
Yeah.
Real quick, is it because of the remake, or was it already? Would it have already been that high if you had?
No, definitely because of the remake.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I've only played. So I mean, obviously, Final Fantasy XII is what I'm playing right now, or one of the things I'm playing right now. It's definitely better than I remembered, but I didn't remember a lot of it because I've only played it front to back once, whereas a lot of the other ones I've played like numerous times. So my memory was foggy on it, and that's why it was kind of low on my list.
Okay.
So
Cool. But it's kind of scooting up the list. Interesting.
yes, no, absolutely, yeah. There's definitely a lot to like about it that I did not remember, and now I'm remembering, and I think it's very good.
Well, let's check in with Cloud over there. Is he feeling threatened by this?
He's giving me dirty looks.
Uh-huh,
He's twirling his sword a lot.
Right.
And yeah, I'll take care of him.
Where's Barrett? That's the only one I care about.
Yeah. What's Barrett think about all this?
He's headed in your direction because you were being snarky a second ago, so he's gonna take care of you for me. So.
I'm sure he'll just bob his head and go like this.
Yeah, shake his fist wildly.
Okay, Barrett, thanks, buddy.
Dude, he's got a giant machine gun for a hand. Don't piss him off.
Doesn't matter.
Like,
He doesn't use it. He just does this.
Okay, all right. I don't think you've played Final Fantasy VII, but that's fine.
Barrett. One of the
yeah.
most well thought out and deep characters in all of Final Fantasy lore.
Cloud!
Not stereotypical at all. Not at all. So
Drink your tea, Cloud. Or whatever he says. I don't know.
well, that was Sid. And he actually told that to his assistant that her name is escaping me. But never mind, you guys.
You know too many
Nobody
things.
cares,
Yeah.
DFC. Just shut up.
You know too many things.
What else are you
Alright,
playing,
yeah.
Daniel?
What else are you playing?
Yeah, no, Final Fantasy XII is an obvious one. I'm still working on Crash. I never actually played Crash originally back in the day, except for like if it was like at a kiosk in the store. So I'm not very good at it, and it is hard. So I am stuck on that. I don't know the name of the stage, but it looks like a castle, and you have to kind of go upwards. There's a lot of birds that you bounce on.
This is the first one, right?
Yeah, on the first one. I'm kind of stuck on that because the first checkpoint's like really far up. So I keep getting to it, and then I just like keep dying around the same area.
The word
So-
that I've heard on that game is that the second and third are way better. Although I wouldn't. know.
Yeah. It's just it's I'm the kind of person that likes to do things in order. So I want to play 1, 2, and 3 to kind of see that evolution.
Yeah, you got to get that Crash lore, or it doesn't
Yeah,
have the same impact.
I need that deep Crash lore. Absolutely.
When
Where
Crash
did the boxes?
gets to meet his
Where
father,
did the boxes come from, Tim? Where did they come from?
That's a great question, and I can't wait
Yeah.
to find out. Don't spoil it, please. My goodness.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those two, I started. Crap. What the hell is it? Wolfenstein. There we go.
Oh.
I started that. I didn't
The
get
New
super
Order,
far into it.
the main game.
Yeah. Yep. The New Order. It was on sale like a month ago, so I bought it. And I'm only in the first hour, so I kind of haven't experienced a lot much in it yet. I'm in the first hour where everyone said it was kind of boring, and it gets way better. So,
Yeah.
So far my opinion of it is like this seems cool, but
Yeah.
I do want some more.
Yeah,
You know?
it's not that, and I wouldn't say that it's boring. It actually has some pretty exciting moments, but it's
Well, yeah.
it feels like another Wolfenstein game. Like, oh, okay, I'm storming the place and fighting
Yeah.
the bad guys. But
I
then
go in
there's
this
a-
room,
There's a
and
turn that
there's-
happens at the end of that whole section, and the game totally changes, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to because, like, yeah, so far it's just like, oh, I go in a room, I shoot some guys, I go in the next room, I shoot some more guys.
Yep. If
So-
you enjoy it, if you find yourself enjoying that kind of, well, I won't say too much else about it. But if you find yourself enjoying it, especially when the game wraps up, highly recommend Old Blood. It's not the best game ever, but it's a lot of fun. It's really good.
No.
Highly
Yeah.
recommend it. Derek says no.
Insightful.
But Derek was also yawning while you were talking, so that was rude.
Yeah. Well, he's incredibly rude. I mean, he secretly wants to touch me in places, but
No, that
I mean,
wasn't
I
a
don't
denial, that was a laugh.
want him to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That wasn't
I
a
mean, he
denial.
smiled. He just gave
Just
me.
so
a,
you guys
a-
know, we did change the name of the show. It's no longer Fathers of the Grind. It's Fairies of the Grind.
Yeah, there you go.
Your wife would approve, I think.
I want Tim to Photoshop or do whatever program he needs to do to put some sparkles in the background as the show goes on. So
Please, and
Just
rainbows.
coming down from the-
I want rainbows everywhere.
yeah, there you go.
Rainbow
It's cute.
reacts
It's
only.
cute. Yes.
All right,
All right, so other
um,
than your guys' awkward romance, what about Derek? What are you playing?
A lot of the same. Horizon Zero Dawn, Mass Effect Andromeda. As far as anything kind of new, I finally hooked up my VR again after, man, that thing came out almost a year ago. It's probably been in a box for about 9 months. So I finally hooked it up. I played the Spider-Man Homecoming. It was okay. It's kind of stupid.
Experience. Don't even call it a game. It's an experience.
Well, experience crap. And then I played some more Danger Ball, which is really fun. I do love that game. It's just so good. It's one of those you have to experience. It gives me that, again, if it was a little bit more comfortable to play, like VR's biggest issue is it's just so annoying to set everything up, and then even once it's set up, like I'm now set up, I'm not going to be unplugging this is going to stay where it's at. It's still annoying to like put on and get everything turned on and in order, because you literally have like 20 cords coming off you. So while like my boys were playing, I kept hearing controllers fall, cases fall, and I'm like, this is so freaking annoying. Like I was getting angry. I'm like, what are you doing? I don't know, Dad. I can't say. So it's annoying. Anyways, Danger Ball is really good. It's basically, for those who don't know, it's kind of like ping pong, but you are the paddle. So you use your head to headbutt the ball, and you can like put a spin on the ball if you yank your head in a certain way. It's really good. Do trick shots and all that. So it's good stuff. And it's hard. Very challenging.
I would like to officially say, though, based on what you're describing of that game, you may no longer give me crap for my dirty, filthy, casual games that I say, hey, that's pretty fun. You got to stop it. You're playing a ping pong game with your head?
Yeah.
No more of this DFC calling me out for that stuff. Nope.
I want, while I'm playing it, I want you to film me and then have exploding rainbows behind me while I'm going.
You got it.
That looks nice. That's good visuals.
You got it.
Should definitely do that.
Challenge accepted.
So yeah, nothing much new. I should be playing Final Fantasy XII, but I really wanted to beat Andromeda. Again, for those who are just starting to listen, I have already beat Andromeda. This would be my second playthrough. I want to beat it again, and then I want to beat Horizon Zero Dawn again before I start Final Fantasy XII. What I'm worried about is by the time I finish those games, we're probably going to have new releases coming out in August, and I'm afraid Final Fantasy XII might get left behind.
Depends on how deep you're going on the side quests for both of those. That could take you all the way up till Destiny 2.
Here's the thing. I'm playing New Game Plus for Horizon Zero Dawn. The goal was to try to get a platinum, which I'm still like doing it, but I'm not doing it as hardcore. And I talked about it last week. The main reason why is don't feel like just going from place to place, just collecting stupid collectibles. But I'm doing every single side quest. Like everything that's presented to me, I'm doing it. I'm doing all the lodge hunts. I'm doing everything. It's not taking that long though, because I'm not playing it on hard. I'm playing it on easy with a level 50 character, because my goal was, when I started it, to do platinum, and I've already beat the game on normal. So we'll see. I'm gonna at least finish the game, and if I decide to get the platinum, I'll keep it. Like, I'm not gonna move on to another game. I'm gonna keep the map open, and I'll just do it later. I might not do it right now. And then as far as Mass Effect Andromeda, I'm not doing everything in that game, because if you do everything in that game, you could literally play for 200 hours. But what I'm doing is all the stuff I talked to you about that, to me, I feel is, even though it's not mandatory, it's really mandatory to get the good ending. So I'm doing all that stuff. So it is taking me a while to get through all the side quests, to 100%. Well, I just finished 100%ing all the planets. And so I've got probably like 4 or 5 more major side quests, and then I can just focus on the story.
Sweet. Good game, and also big news for BioWare fans. The old creator of Mass Effect is back. I'm already blanking on his name. Casey
Hudson? Yeah. I was going to say Lynch, but that's not it.
No,
Casey
it's
Lynch.
not.
What's that name?
No, it's Hudson, yeah.
Oh.
Casey Lynch, I think, worked for IGN.
Yeah, DFC doesn't know
right.
anything about Mass Effect, so he doesn't.
Excuse me?
You don't know anything about Mass Effect, and you don't know anything about Casey Hudson, so.
I know that it's worse than Dragon Age, so...
I mean, I'm not going to, like, yell at you about that, because I'm a big Dragon Age fan, but you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. No, well...
So anyway, so that franchise may not be taking as long of a hiatus as they said, but it might be. Who knows? Who knows what will happen with him coming back?
Yeah, you really don't...
that
you're going to assume he's going to do something because of how Andromeda turned out with Mass Effect, and maybe they will, and they should. They shouldn't stop making those games. That's an amazing franchise, and even Andromeda is a good game. But I think, I mean, the thing is with Casey Hudson, he did Knights of the Old Republic. He did Mass Effect 1, 2, 3. So he can do whatever he wants. He can do a
Well, and
new.
he got Anthem started before he left. So the beginning stages of Anthem were him. And so I know it's probably way different now from when he first started it, but that's probably his main focus.
I would imagine that everyone involved in Anthem now is so like kind of deep entrenched in the development that he's probably gonna do something else, like
Yeah,
hop
maybe.
onto some other project.
But I know he's there as the CEO, so he's no longer directing.
Ah.
He's overseeing
Gotcha.
everything.
Oh, so he's just
So,
doing everything. So it doesn't matter. Casey
No,
Hudson,
I-
you're now irrelevant. I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, he's kind of
Ouch.
telling the directors what to do as opposed to
Yeah, if he
directing.
was actually
Okay.
directing a project, then yeah. But if he's just overseeing everything, I no longer care about you, Casey.
And I'm pretty sure
Hudson.
he's running all of BioWare, but I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
Well, I am playing Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age. We'll talk about that quite a bit here in a few minutes. Spoiler alert, I love that game. Okay? All right, and I'm also playing Implosion, which has surprisingly hooked me. It's this little $10 game on the Switch eShop. And the reason so it's also on mobile, and it's coming out, I think, on other consoles. The reason I don't recommend getting on mobile is because as a Switch downloadable game, it feels like a complete action game. Everything's right there. Everything from continues to, upgrading your character. On mobile version, there's so much free-to-play style stuff where you have to pay to continue and all this stuff, and it's awful. And I hate that kind of setup for a game. And there's no actual buttons, so forget about it. The fact that it's on mobile, it plays like a really cool little indie action game on the Switch. I highly recommend it. It's been a really fun change of pace, and I'm actually going back through levels now, trying to complete. You can earn these badges that then let you unlock additional upgrades for your mech, or you can unlock an additional mech, that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty fun little game. I highly recommend it if you like kind of isometric platinum game style stuff. It's really fun. Yeah, and that's all I'm playing right now. Nothing else really super new.
This is what happens when it's summertime. Release
man.
games, publishers release games.
Yep.
Kids are outside, Derek. They got to run outside and play.
Okay, first of
I mean,
all,
the
most gamers are fat 30-something-year-olds who fight on camera. So I don't think
I'm one of those.
I don't think they really care about the kids and what they're doing during summer.
Yeah, you're
trying
probably
to-
right.
Are you trying to say that you're fat, or is that what
I'm
you're saying?
actually saying DFC is a fat piece.
I've lost quite a bit of weight there, buddy. I'm getting
Good.
jacked. Getting jacked, bro.
That's why he's sitting so low, so we can't see all the.
Yeah. I don't want you to see my perfected, chiseled body. So
He doesn't want to
you
make
know.
us feel worse than we already do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice of you, man. That's really
I
kind.
know. I'm very generous.
Now, the other side of major games holding off over the summer has been I've been able to enjoy a few smaller titles here and there. Derek's been able to play head ping pong or whatever. So, we've all had a chance to
That
enjoy some
sounds
stuff.
so rainbow. Thank you.
I was actually going to say Danger Ball sounds like some weird game Derek plays by himself, but
It does.
no judgment or anything. You do what you want, but
Someone pounds on the door. Derek, you playing Danger Ball again? Go away, Mom.
make sure you knock 3 times first.
Terrifying. Okay, let's talk about revisiting Final Fantasy XII. And so, sounds like Daniel's had quite a bit of time to play it.
Real
I've
quick,
been
you use this for Danger Ball.
There you go.
Really? We're doing the PlayStation move. Now I'm gonna have. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna blur
Censor
that out
tab.
so people don't know what that was.
Censor
Yeah,
tab.
they're not. Yeah, they won't see exactly what it was. People are gonna
Sony
start-
stock just went up a few points.
People are gonna think you had all kinds of stuff over there. All right.
Youth girls,
So-
turn off the camera now, please. Stop. Stop watching.
I pray to God that your youth girls don't watch this. So anyway, I've had a chance to play it. Let's see, I just finished. Try not to give too much away. I just finished
an
the
old
mines,
game,
the
Tim.
Lusu mines, and I'm going back through the city now. I had to proclaim that a certain character's still alive. I don't know. It's that part, Daniel. You know what I'm talking about. So I'm not too far into it,
Yeah.
but I've done 4 or 5 hunts. I'm a good way into it. Derek has played it for -5 minutes, and
Right.
it sounds
Yeah.
like Daniel's put a good amount of time into it. So what we'll do is I wanted to kind of go through, for those who aren't super familiar with this game, go through some of the background of it, like when it came out and some of the development, some of the stories around its development, and then we'll get into talking about what's new, why we should care about this remaster, and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into those. So before we get there, here's some background. This game originally came out over 11 years ago. March 16th, 2006, worldwide release for the PlayStation 2, which, if you follow video games at all, you know the PS2 was at that point and would continue to dominate the console market just by far, absolutely destroy it. This game took 5.5 years of development, which at the time set the record for the length of time for a game in development. Of course, we know that other games since then have defeated that record.
Square said, "I'm gonna one up myself."
Yeah, Square's like, we got this. No, but including,
Hold my
of course, I'm pretty sure 15 took longer than that, right?
Oh yeah.
And then,
Well,
of course, The Last
yeah.
Guardian, which is not a Square game, but that game took, I think that's the record holder right now, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah.
So all that to say that 11 years ago, the amount of time it took for this game from conception all the way until release was longer than any other game. It took longer than any other game. It was co-directed by the Final Fantasy Tactics director, Yasumi Matsuno, and Final Fantasy IX director, Hiroyuki Ito. Now, the reason I bring those two guys up, those two games are two of my very favorite games in this whole franchise, and they are two of the best PlayStation 1 games, I think. Tactics and Final Fantasy IX are absolutely fantastic games, both of them. Great stories,
Very
great
high
characters,
quality, yes.
very high quality, great music.
Yeah.
But then, not too far into the development cycle, Matsuno, the director of Tactics, had to drop out. Apparently, it was due to health issues. Some people would even say that they were concerned for how long he might live. The health issues were that bad. I don't know all the details there. I don't know if you guys do.
I mean, I remember it being that, but then I swear also hearing that it was just kind of like typical, like, oh, well, they want to go in this direction, but then the suits want to go in that direction. So I don't know if it was a mixture of all those things, or they were maybe kind of saying one thing to use it as to kind of cover maybe his health issues. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he ended up going on to continue to help with games, and he's even continued to do some games with Square here and there, some mobile stuff since then. So he did not pass away. He's still alive and well and still making games. So that was kind of a weird departure from the project. And I know it made some others pretty sad, but I'm pretty sure they brought on another guy, and I'm blanking out on who it was, but they brought on another guy to help fill that role. I forget who that was offhand. But anyway, the game was finished, obviously. I thought this was kind of cool. There were some interviews done with the combat designer after the game released, and he talked about how he came up with and how he and his team developed the combat. And it was always meant to be, for those of you who don't know, it is an open area. Every area that you go into, every dungeon that you're in, when you're out in the desert fighting, you can see all the enemies. And this was a first for mainline Final Fantasy games. Now, Final Fantasy XI had already come out. That was an MMO, and you could see enemies in the field, just like a standard MMO. But this was the first single-player Final Fantasy where you didn't, have this random encounter, and the whole world would spin and throw you into a fight scene. This was the first time that you actually fought directly with the enemies that you saw out in the field.
Yeah.
And he said that originally it was more complex and rigid, but it became much more fluid over time. And I think it's a pretty fluid battle system now. But here's what I thought was pretty cool. I want to see what you guys thought about this. He said that they actually took ideas and they were influenced by American football, the way that the strategy behind American football works, with each player having a role to play, and they're trained and their practice is all built around scenarios. So like an offensive lineman, a linebacker, they're looking at different scenarios, and as each play unfolds, they react and adjust what they're doing accordingly. So every player has a scenario that they're supposed to follow. Like the fullback might change what he's doing based on the fact that there's an outside linebacker blitzing or something like that. Mm-hmm. So he talked about how American football influenced the creation of the Gambit system. What do you guys think about that? Is that something you had heard of before?
No. I had not heard of that, but like even just from a visual perspective, it makes a lot of sense because, I don't watch football really, but I know the coaches, shut up. The coaches will have circles around a player and there'll be lines going in different directions, right? Plays. Right?
Yes.
So when you're playing 12, there's literally a line coming off of your character over to the enemy, and there's actually circles around them. Like if you're switching to a different enemy, that you can move the circle over. So I can kind of even see from a visual perspective how they came to that. So
now, for people who have not, they don't really know how the combat in this game works. Daniel, tell us a little bit about the gambit system. How does that work when you're actually playing the game? What is the gambit system?
So yeah, like you mentioned, the combat is very different because it's not turn-based. It's almost like an offline MMO.
Totally.
So it's like,
Yeah.
you're seeing the enemies and you approach them and you take out your weapon, start fighting. The gambit system allows you to have predetermined actions for the other characters that you're not controlling. So if you're using one character and you're just kind of attacking, doing whatever, you can program the other characters to kind of cover for you and themselves also if you need some healing. Or if certain enemies are weak to certain types of spells, you can kind of set it up where, if that character has that spell, they can apply it to that enemy and do some additional damage.
Oh, you can do it based on weakness? I didn't know that. I guess I must not have those gambit instructions yet.
I mean, there's a lot of gambits, like
Okay.
a lot, like a crazy amount. So, but I know you can set it up where it's even just the very advanced minutia of just like kind of specific things like that. Yeah, it goes pretty in depth, and the game encourages you to not always keep the same gambit setup.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you start fighting more difficult enemies, they're gonna kind of change the way that they fight in the middle of the battle.
Totally.
So,
Well, yeah. So each character that you get that joins your party, even if they're just there as a guest temporarily, you can still change their gambits through those battles. And they each start with 2 lines, so you can give them basically 2 scenarios. So you could say, I want you to always attack the enemy that the party leader, which you're controlling, is attacking. Or you could say if an enemy is attacking the party leader, or if a certain HP is if the max HP is the highest or lowest, or if they are if their HP is above or below a certain level, certain percentage. So they give you all these situational things just to get started on giving them instructions for those battles, which is really cool. Now, don't forget, you can also hit the action button and bring up a menu, and you can cycle over to those characters and override at any point. You can turn their gambits on and off. You can just give them, one-time instructions for that turn. So they give you a ton of flexibility on how micromanaging you want to be as the party leader. So you can set all the gambits up. You can spend a lot of time on the front end, set up all the gambits. You can even have your main character set up with the gambit system. You can just run into battle and put the controller down and watch everything unfold, and hopefully things don't go horribly wrong. Then you'll have to pick up the controller and go again. But everything from using a potion to casting Cure to who you're going to attack to who you're going to cast some kind of protective spell on, all those things can be set up through that gambit system. It's a very creative way to let you control an entire party of people who are battling, and it allows you to be as hands-on or as hands-off as you want. It's really, really an
Is
interesting
Wolverine
system.
in the game?
Wolverine is not in this game,
No.
despite
Spider-Man is
Gambit.
though.
All
Spider-Man.
right, cool.
Yeah. So yeah,
It can get really advanced though. Like again in the beginning, it's just kind of straightforward, like
Right.
oh heal me and so on and so forth. But yeah, it gets way more advanced, and it's not to make it also sound like in the beginning, oh well, you can put, like you said, put the controller down. And in a way, you kind of can in the beginning, but you want to be careful when you fight some tougher enemies. Like you kind of have to be wary of what's going on. So
That was what I was going to ask you, because I was listening to a podcast, and they made it sound like that maybe I wasn't understanding them correctly. So I'm going to ask you guys, since you played it more than me. I'd only played the original. That you can basically set up your gambit system and then put the controller down and just walk away, and the game plays itself.
No,
What do they mean by that?
I mean,
you have to move your character because you'll attack an enemy, they'll appear in front of you, and you'll fight them, and then they're defeated, and then you have to move forward. Like they're not just gonna keep spawning, So
well, here's how you could let the AI completely control your battles. If you set up a gambit for your main character and you tell it to target the closest enemy and start attacking, and then you set up all the other gambits to basically say, I want you to target whoever the leader is targeting, then you've got a chain reaction of attacks happening. And then you set up some background gambits of use a potion when their health goes below 50%, cast Cure when this person's health goes below 25%. You can set up all these different scenarios in that gambit system. And in that case, you could literally walk into the eyesight of an enemy and then put the controller down, because your main character its gambit would activate and start attacking, and all the others would follow suit. That's what that means.
Okay.
You couldn't you still have to move around the world. You still have to actually do stuff.
Yeah, you
But
have to actually
battles
participate.
The battles themselves, if you do have to put a lot of work on the front end, I think, if you want to survive a totally automated battle, you'd have to have a really great, really complete gambit system set up.
Well, and that's what it sounds like. It sounds like it's a managing game. Like go in the
It
menus,
can be.
manage
It
how they
kind of
act.
depends. Like
Well,
you can.
isn't that RPGs, Derek? I mean, you got to
No.
manage your party, guy.
Did you really manage in Final Fantasy 15? Did you manage a lot?
A little bit of light management, sure. I mean, Prompto died
It
like
was-
all the time, so
nowhere
I
near to this,
didn't
though.
manage
Yeah.
much in Mass Effect Andromeda. I pushed the up button on the cross, and that lets them know to attack the same guy I'm shooting at. So
Oh,
yeah.
it's
I'd say-
different.
I'd say
It's way
you'd
different.
managed something. You managed to get through a mediocre game, but that's fine.
Oh, sick burn.
Even though, like, what I'm talking about though is I'm talking like management from the perspective of you're doing all the work before you actually get into the battle. Then the battle just plays out. Whereas, like,
Again, you
for
can,
instance,
but you don't have to do that.
well, I mean, you have to walk into the battle, but
You do,
you
right.
still instructed the AI how to act. Final Fantasy VII, stuff like that, you're actually making the selections in the battle.
Right.
Like
You can
it's-
still
But
do
at the
that.
same time,
Okay.
you have to be able to react pretty quickly, especially when you're fighting, like Daniel said, certain bosses actually do get quite tough. The third hunt that I did was to fight this wraith, and he kept casting Doom, and then he kept hitting me really hard, and all my physical attacks were doing like no damage. I discovered I only had 2 attacks that would actually hurt him. That was a really tough battle for me early on in the game, and I had to actively manage, even though I had what I thought was an awesome gambit structure set up.
Yeah.
Turns out I had to just change my strategy on the fly because that gambit setup was not working against this wraith.
Yeah.
So it is not a foolproof system that you can set up once and then you can't set it and forget it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you
I
have to adjust.
like I said, you have to kind of bounce around and be like, oh, well, this scenario is changing, and either change up the gambit system or you get directly involved yourself through the menus. So
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of having multiple players, and Daniel, you mentioned this, it does have a vibe of an MMO feel in
Yeah.
terms of, you recruit a crew and you can assign them. We'll talk about the classes in a second, the licenses, but you assign them each different skill sets and whether you want to build up their defense or attack or healing power, magic, all that kind of stuff. They each play a different role. Again, very similar to something you'd see in an MMO where you've got your tank, your DPS, and your healer. There's some similarities there, I think. So what I learned as I'm looking into the development of this game is during development, they were actually planning a multiplayer mode. The idea was that even online, you could jump in, join your friend's party, and play. Or sitting couch co-op, pick up the other controller, and start controlling another character. Now, they had so many development delays and so many other
Yeah.
issues, and it turns out hardware limitations from the PS2, which was, by the way, even though it was the most popular, it was the weakest hardware of
Yeah.
that generation. They had limitations, and they had online limitations as well. So they had to take the planned multiplayer component out and kind of just scrap that and move on. But that could have been kind of cool, I think, if multiplayer would have been a thing.
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, it's weird. When you say the hardware limitations, it's weird because they had Final Fantasy XI playable on PS2, and that's an MMO, and there was hundreds of people running around. So
I think it probably had more to do with the combat systems they had set up and the idea of introducing a brand new control element.
yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, something with the limitation of it being able to function and actually operate as a system, as a system they had built.
Yeah.
For some reason, it wasn't working with the PS2, possibly with the online components as well.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't quite there.
they scrapped it before it got too far along. But multiplayer was an idea that they had. They had a few other ideas as well, but I'm blanking on what those are right now. But it had to do with some online components. They had a few other ideas, but they took those out to just really focus on that single player element. One other thing that they changed, and I kind of wish that this had never changed. There's a character in the game. You meet him right away at the beginning. His name's Bosch.
He's
And
great.
he was originally the main protagonist, and he is a really cool character. He's a fiercely loyal knight, and he's one of those guys. He's kind of like the Ned Stark, right, from Game of Thrones. He's just like incredibly honorable, fiercely loyal. You can trust him. He's upstanding, and he's a hero through and through. And some bad stuff happens to him. I won't give that away. But after they did some focus group research, apparently, I don't know who they researched, but they also evaluated some other games that featured a similar hero, like Vagrant Story, and they didn't feel like that game had enough success. They decided to go back to what had been working for them with their last several games, a young, energetic hero and they switched it over to Vaughn and Pinello as the
So they probably asked people
main
like
character.
Daniel. And they're like, yeah, I like all the lame characters. Please put
I want
the
him to have an
lame
annoying
one.
voice and a tiny vest.
And make sure he laughs like...
Hold on, could you do that again? That looked really cute. That's cute. That's nice.
Tim, I apologize. I was gonna leave my fan off so people didn't have to deal with the noise, but it's getting hot up in here, so the fan's going on. People,
It's probably because you're playing
know
that
what?
danger ball.
Well, you know what Nelly says when it's getting hot in here.
Sorry, I was distracted by that ridiculous laughter. No, I mean, I kind of wish that they went with. Now was it you were saying Bosch was supposed to be the main character, not Balthair?
Bosch was originally the main protagonist, but
okay.
then they had some issues internally, and that may have been where the director fell off. I don't know. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think he originally was part of Vagrant Story as well.
Right.
But Vagrant Story had a very similar kind of slightly older, more grizzled veteran who's kind of soft-spoken, just a quiet hero. But they're more successful games, like think about Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
They all had that kind of young, whatever you want to call it. I think they use the word spunky, which is a weird word to say, but
Yeah.
that young, energetic, very
Japanese word.
immature, that very immature lead character who was surrounded by the older, wise characters who guided that character. And they had just gotten used to that, and they didn't want to veer away from that, and so they switched things up during development.
Yeah, for me, when originally, when they were showing, the first art and everything of the characters, when I saw Vaughn, I immediately just thought Titus from 10. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, they're kind of going in that direction again, like that style of character. But the thing with Titus, and he does fit that mold of kind of naive and as you said, spunky or vibrant or whatever. He evolved throughout the story and became more mature because obviously the situation that he was in, being in that world of Spira and how depressing it was and everything. I mean, so far, because I'm not far enough into the game to remember, Vaughn is obnoxious. I don't really care for him. But that could change. Again, I don't remember enough if he does evolve at all like Titus did. But I get that kind of similar vibe where in the get-go they're sort of just naive and they just think before they act.
Did you beat Final Fantasy XII on the PS2?
Oh yeah, no, I
Okay.
spent a lot of time with that game. I
did
remember liking it. I just there were things about it, like I think I mentioned in that episode that when we ranked, I just didn't feel like there was a main character of the game. They all felt like kind of one unified character, which at the time I didn't really care for, but now I'm digging it. Maybe just because I'm just more mature and I kind of like that type of thing. But
Well, that's what I want to talk about. And again, I haven't gotten to play it on the PS4 except for the 2 minutes that I sat and watched. I even skipped the cutscenes because I was just trying to get to it.
what the hell? What's
Well,
wrong with you?
I wasn't going to play it. I was skipping the
There's some
cutscenes
good
just to
cutscenes,
see
though, by the
what
way.
it looked
It does.
like. But I remember when I originally played it. Now, I was a kind of a Final Fantasy noob, meaning I had only beat Final Fantasy X. I had started Final Fantasy X-2 and was like, this is Barbie, not doing that. And so when I played Final Fantasy XII, it was different from Final Fantasy X, obviously gameplay wise, but because I wasn't so like a Final Fantasy fanboy, I wasn't in shock by the gameplay. And so I found that I actually really, really liked the game because I enjoyed the gameplay, and I really, really liked the cast of characters. Now, again, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember anything. I just remember really, really liking that group of characters. I don't even remember Vaughn being annoying. I just remember liking Bosch and all the other ones. I liked that group. I
Here's
thought
the
they
good
were great.
news. Vaughn by himself is annoying. He's not the most annoying character to ever grace a video game.
No,
but he
Go
is
see
just
Final Fantasy XIII.
He is annoying though at times. Even his voice. I think a better voice actor could have really fixed a lot of the issues.
He's definitely the
voice
weakest so
acting-
far, of the main cast,
Yes.
voice acting wise.
But they have. I mean, right away you get introduced to a ton of interesting characters. Like Balthair and Fran are awesome right away. Balthair has this British accent.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a Han Solo character. I
think
like him a lot.
I think he was my favorite, if I remember.
Oh, he's great. And I also like using him as my lead character, actually, because I can use his guns and attack from a distance and send everyone else in.
Timmy
to attack.
loves
Anyway,
guns.
I do love the guns. But anyway, there are so many other good characters around him. There's a young character that you meet later. Penelo is kind of bland so far where I am, but hopefully her character gets more interesting. And then, of course, I wanted to say this real quick about the overall story. I think as I'm experiencing the story now, I didn't remember anything about this game. The only thing I remembered was the combat was different. There's an airship involved, and I did some hunts. And I know I didn't beat this game, so I don't remember how far I got. I feel like I got farther than I am now.
I remember getting stuck on my gameplay, or my playthrough.
Okay, it just got too difficult at one point?
Yeah, and I was at least 15, 20 hours in. It was like in some, I want to say kingdom, where I was like invading a castle, so maybe I wasn't as far in as I thought, but it wasn't the intro. But
the menu screen.
Yeah. I was just attacking this menu
scene?
screen. I was attacking the menu screen, and it fought back, and I got stuck. So I threw my PS2 out the door.
There are times when the thing you have to do to advance the main story isn't super clear, but for the most part, they give you a nice big red X on the map now, and you can see where you're supposed to go. Sometimes they don't, and you have to kind of just remember what the last dialogue piece you had was.
Yeah.
Kind of like an old school JRPG. And they tell you, like, hey, go talk to so-and-so in this bar over here, and you're like, and if you don't remember that, you might be screwed.
All right.
But
So let me ask you another question real quick, since you guys have played it more.
Yeah.
If I was somebody, and I am somebody, who's only played the PS2 version, what are the improvements from the PS2 version to this one besides better graphics? Do you guys...
You're jumping ahead there, Derek.
Why?
Maybe.
it's all right. Daniel, why don't you... I mean, there's a bunch of things. What's the first thing that comes to mind for you? We can just take turns with things that we've noticed.
Yeah, because I was actually like...
Oh, by the way, I wasn't reading a script. I was just actually asking.
Yeah.
So if I jumped ahead, I'm sorry. I was just asking.
No, it's all right.
I'm just being a wise guy. I actually started like jotting down some notes, and then like I just didn't finish jotting them down. But they rearranged...
What's the first thing that jumped out?
This takes effort. I'm done.
Well, I mean, the first main difference is the license board, which is what you level up basically in the game. Not like the deep stats per se, but like you can unlock, being able to equip certain weapons and armor, or add more HP to the character, and abilities, unlock abilities, so on and so forth. So it's not exactly the same as 10, because 10 you can just equip things whenever you wanted to, but it's somewhat similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it looks like a checkers board. So it's like all these squares that originally in the first one there was just one license board overall
It was
that
massive.
they shared. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
it
think
was overwhelming, really.
Yeah.
back in
I
the
don't
day.
remember though if they all started at different points on the board
They
or
do. Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was one giant board, and each, depending on which license you went for, you started in a different
spot. Okay. Whereas
But,
now
yeah.
it's set up like a job system. So now when you when you take control of Vaughn, I think is the first time you can mess around with the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this looks like a clock, so to speak, and there's these circles that you can click on, and each one is a class. And once you choose that class, then that's it. You can't retract that. So
That's your license board then.
yeah, that's your license board for that character. And I think later down the line you can choose a second one, so you can choose 2 for each character.
So is it something that if I'm going to play, and because I'm a Final Fantasy noob, I should be looking at a guide so I don't pick the wrong class? Or is it a game setup where no matter what class you pick, if you level up correctly, you will be successful?
I'm going to go with the latter, because
Yeah.
many of the things you unlock on each license board do carry over to other boards. So, like, you unlock additional slots for the gambit, so now you can give additional instructions. You unlock additional HP or additional MP. You unlock the ability to use certain armor sets. A lot of those are lined up with every license or every class, or every job, whatever you want to call it. Some of them, though, are unique to your class, like certain special abilities, like the mist abilities you can unlock. Those are unique. So I guess I wouldn't overthink it. I would just kind of go, like, for example, I just decided I wanted Fran to be the spear class, because I just figured that type of character in previous games was kind of that spear class. She was an archer to start the game, but now she's my spear specialist, and I wanted Vaughn to maintain being he's a mechanist, or a mechanist, however you say
I think
that,
mechanist, yeah.
And he uses guns, but also
Machinist.
technology, and he'll be able to throw grenades, all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
I think you can have success with however you do it, because each character, as they level up through that license board, they'll also gain in all the other stats and all the other things that you'll need. They'll just be able to use different equipment. So I think you can be successful with any of those.
You can kind of just have fun with it, and I mean, to be honest, like you said, how some of them are like Fran uses the bow, like that's kind of like what she defaults to, like in just cutscenes and so on and so forth. But that's what I chose first. So with like her and Balthayer, I actually chose for him the gunner class. I forget what the specific name is. Just to kind of get the perks of the fact that he's already, proficient in that.
Yeah.
And then I figured down the
Because
line,
they do have
I
some
can
things
unlock,
unlocked on that board already.
Yeah.
By the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and then down the line, I can unlock whatever I think would accompany that. What kind of would mesh with that better. And
Yep.
something else that I was thinking, but I forget. But yeah, you don't have to really overthink it that much. And some of it is kind of obvious what fits with each character. So if you want to start as that one first, you can do that. But you're not gonna you're not gonna mess anything up really.
And I will say that, as we've already talked about Vaughn being kind of annoying as a character and his voice and stuff, but as a combat character, he's actually quite good. And he's one of those guys I can kind of rely on. He's got a lot of HP right now, so him and Bosch are kind of my tanks.
Did you choose like the samurai class? Is that what you chose? Or?
No, he's actually I picked the I forget the name of it. It's kind of a ninja style class where he uses daggers. And he's really fast.
Yeah.
But he, for some reason, I was able to, the way that the license board unlocked, I was able to unlock a bunch of HP upgrades right away, and so he has a ton of HP right now. But anyway, that's really the job system is what has hooked me. I think I'm going to talk about the story here in a second too, but the license system, the job system, the license boards that Daniel was describing, that's what has hooked me, because there's so much customization. I love that kind of stuff. That's what I love about the tactics games and some of the early Final Fantasy games, like I think 4 and 5 both have job type systems where, or at least one of them does. Anyway,
yeah,
where you can
5
pick,
did, yeah, or a really deeper one, yeah.
Yeah, where you can pick what role each person plays and upgrade their abilities. I just love that kind of system in an RPG.
I like the job stuff.
So I'm with you on the license board. The thing that jumped out to me first was actually right there in the menus. I know Derek loves his menus, so his ears are perked up.
He likes fighting them too, apparently.
Yeah, major battle menus. But anyway, right from the opening menu, I was like, wow, this music sounds amazing.
Yes.
And as I started up the game, and there's a bunch of options you can select, before you hit start game, it brings up a whole list of options, everything from subtitles to whatever else. One of the options is on music. You can choose kind of the old original music or this new orchestrated, like high quality version of the music. They've totally redone the music. It's this new orchestrated version. And so I left it unorchestrated. Everywhere that I've been, every battle, every cutscene, just traveling through the desert or the city, flying through the airship, dude, the music has been phenomenal. I'm talking like top class, current game quality music. So that jumped out to me right away before I even got to the license board or anything else. I do think there's visual improvements just because it's on an HD screen and it's not super pixely, whatever else. But in general, it's still like some of the textures are still an old game. They didn't totally rebuild it from the ground up. So it still is an old game, and some of the faces are kind of, older looking, but it's not bad whatsoever. I think it holds up, and I think it's really, really a pretty looking game for the most part.
Yeah, I took a note of that because the visuals definitely like look better because obviously they've up-resed it or whatever they did. But similar to with like the 10 remaster, the most notable changes are like the character models. They're definitely the most detailed change that I can notice. Like the environment, probably like obviously if I put it side to side with the PS2 version, it would look better, but it's still not like super detailed like the games
still very
nowadays.
Flat.
Yeah. So and
the
the maps are so big.
Edges. Right.
So
yeah, a lot of assets that repeat. Whether you're out in the desert or in the city, you'll see like the same looking doors and columns and flooring pieces. They repeat a lot of stuff. It's the kind of thing you didn't notice back in the day, but now in this day and age with how detailed games are visually, I mean, you're coming right out of something like Andromeda and Horizon, Derek, you'll notice that some of the visual assets are being reused, but I think for the most part, anyone who's playing this knows this is an 11-year-old game that's been up-resed, and they'll be overall happy with the way it looks, I think.
For sure.
Nice. I'm excited.
I wanted to say something real quick about the story. I think for those of you who may have played Fire Emblem games, where it's very kingdom and country oriented, like who owns what, and there's always some kingdom that's trying to dominate the others, and it's very political in nature, the storyline at least. So as the game starts, they right away set up, here are these kingdoms, here's the one trying to take over the other one, and here are the major players, and here's the royal family. They set it up very clearly right from the beginning, and I had forgotten that story completely, and I think it's very interesting. I really like the story. The whole evil empire trying to take over these smaller kingdoms, and, is the royal bloodline actually gone? Those kind of things. So I wouldn't quite call it to the level of, really in-depth stories like your Game of Thrones and things like that. But as far as video game stories go, I think it's really high quality. I'm intrigued by it in the same way that I am with a lot of Fire Emblem games when they start talking about kingdoms and who owns what area and which army is bigger, that kind of. It's really interesting. So story-wise, pretty solid. I just didn't remember it until I have been replaying it.
Nice.
Yeah, there are bits and pieces that are coming back, like even just like some cutscenes before they happen. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that's about to happen, but like just overall, I don't remember a lot of the specific details of the game. But I mean, again, I'm looking forward to revisiting it.
Yep.
So.
And the lore is pretty cool. I mean, some of the enemies, kind of like the generals, are called these judges, and that kind of stuff's just pretty cool. Like the lore that they're setting up with the way that the political system and the monarchy works. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the story aspect of it too. So those are the two things that have really hooked me: is the in-depth customization of the license board and the gambit system combined with the story. That's really taken over any slight visual concerns or annoyances with Vaughn. Or even the way, sometimes it takes a while to run across the city to get to your next objective because fast travel's there, but it's limited. Those kind of concerns aren't really ruining my experience because I'm enjoying so many other pieces of it.
A lot of people say that this game is the Star Wars of Final Fantasy.
Well, see, I haven't played it.
By
and I
a
don't
lot
know
of
the whole story
people,
enough to
he
know
means
that.
Daniel Freitas.
No, that's a common theme.
People do compare it. But what's interesting is I was reading up some of the background for this. The guys who wrote the story actually didn't even think about that connection, and they talked about other classic stories that they were using as kind of the foundation. But when they were interviewed about it, they did say, I can see why people would say that. So I'm not far enough in to really see that connection quite yet, I suppose. But yeah, that's a good thing. Star Wars is a great classic story.
I think Star Wars is popular, right?
No.
A few people like it. A few people like it.
It's like an indie
the
indie movie.
Overall voice acting, like we talked about before, is pretty good. I like Bosch's character and Balthier and Fran and the guy who appears at this point to be the villain. I'm not sure if he is or not, but the voice acting overall is pretty good. The writing is quite good. Even as you talk to all the random characters in the city, like there's none of those. I remember back in the day, you would play a Final Fantasy game, like especially I was thinking 3, which is actually 6 on the Super Nintendo. There were certain little dialogue boxes that would pop up when you talk to a character, and I'm like, somebody didn't translate that correctly. Like that is not correct, and that is not an issue now. Like they do a good job with the localization. With this,
the VO for 12 is I would say significantly better than 10's. Like the jump from and I mean to be fair, 10 was the first time that they were trying to do something like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's way better for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. So overall, Daniel, then now we've been talking about it for a while. How would you say that it's holding up? Just as let's say that someone has never played it, whether or not they've played other Final Fantasies, they totally skipped 12. How does this game hold up now as an RPG experience? And do the best you can to take yourself out of the nostalgia that you're experiencing as you play it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's more similar to newer games because you don't have the slow turn-based battles of the old games, which a lot of people don't like. There's some people that are in that camp where they're like turn-based or nothing because they're old school and that's just their mindset and that's it. Mm-hmm. And then there's people that are like, I like to move around, I like to do things. And I'd say 12 is more like that. So I'd say it's more akin to newer experiences and that they would enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And what also helps,
the customization level makes it feel very modern too.
Yeah, and actually we forgot to mention too. There's the speed up option where you can speed up the game ×2 speed and ×4 speed, which actually makes grinding not only hilarious, just watching everybody run around like maniacs because they go super fast, but it makes it actually fun because it just goes so fast. I literally have spent like a few hours just in the Lusu mines, which is where you are, just fighting
just finished that one.
skeletons.
Yeah. Yep. And those guys, see, I got overwhelmed in the mines a few times, but by the time I finished it, I had fought so many, I had leveled up a few times.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, every enemy you beat gives you some XP, and it also gives you some LP, which is your license points.
Yes.
So I really like I feel like just about every time I open the menu, I'm like, oh, I've got 40 license points. I didn't realize I had accumulated that many, and you go and unlock a new ability. So
Cool.
they do a really good job. They constantly feed that need to unlock something new, even if it's something little. Like, hey, I just unlocked the ability to use, light gear version 2, so now I can use a new hat or something. But there's almost always something to upgrade because every enemy you defeat gives you a little bit of that.
So
that's
you
really,
guys
really
would say I need to stop playing the crap games I'm playing and just play those.
Well, I mean, if you want to finish Andromeda again, then I mean, go ahead. But I mean, why not revisit this classic game?
That I actually haven't beat.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't beaten this one either. I would say that you should allow yourself to try, in some ways, to commit to it because, just like every Final Fantasy game, it takes a little while to really get into the rhythm. To me, they slow fed me this. Here's a new thing. Like the menu system was very limited, and then they eventually give you the gambit piece of the menu, and then they eventually give you the ability to control who's your party leader.
It's not overwhelming the way they introduce things.
They don't overwhelm you, but it is kind of a slow burn.
Yeah.
So you do have to kind of say, hey, I'm gonna give this game, a few hours, but to really.
So I
get
can't
into
beat
the
it in 2 minutes, which is what I was trying to do.
No.
You
I don't even think
Zelda
Mark
thing.
could beat it in 2 minutes. So, Mr. Speedrun. So.
Mark
Gauntlet
Allen has
thrown.
probably already finished the game 68 times.
Probably.
Well, it's because he doesn't sleep ever.
While
so.
weightlifting. Weightlifting.
I do want to give a little tidbit though, where I was mentioning how you could speed up the combat, and I'm in the Lusu mines. There's actually a couple of sections that have a lot of the skeleton guys that pop up. One of the things with the combat is when you fight the same enemy continuously and you don't break that chain, you actually stack up. It's literally in the bottom right corner. It'll say chain. It'll have a number next to it of how many.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
what is that?
So, in the area that I've been sticking around in, I fought like 30 skeletons in a row. It'll say chain 30. And what that means is as you build up that chain, you'll get like actually little status buffs. You'll get more item drops and better item drops.
I did not know that. It's rewarding grinding.
Yeah, exactly. And again, with the ×4 boost, it makes it like I'm level
Dude.
20 already, and I have like 300,000.
That's a hot tip
gil.
right there.
So yeah, just something to keep in mind when you're.
I didn't know that. See,
mines.
the chain system at first made sense. I was like, oh yeah, if you defeat a bunch of enemies in a row, it'll start chaining.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, I would defeat an enemy, and the chain thing would break. And start
Exactly.
back at one. I
Has
was
to
like,
be the
What was
same.
that?
Has to be the same enemy. So if you're fighting 30 skeletons and then you hit a bat, then that's gonna break the chain. So
Stinking bats. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
stupid
Good to know.
bats. Yeah.
And if you do that right near a save points replenish all your HP and MP, so you can
Exactly.
kind of stay in there as long as you want. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Nice.
Exactly.
Quick question. So Derek, for you, this is: do you think you'll play it and will you finish it? But let's start with you, Daniel. Do you think for this playthrough, since you've already beaten it in the past, do you see yourself playing all the way to the end this time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, not even just because it's a Final Fantasy game, but that's just who I am. I have to finish games. I don't like leaving them unfinished, but I do want to play it all the way through to remember the entire story and to, again, give it a final evaluation of where it lands in my overall favorites.
Cool. Yep. You
So-
finish what you start, like a man.
That's
what
right.
you're saying.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm finishing Andromeda again.
Again. Yeah. Derek, do you think you'll give this game a real shot? And if you do, could you see yourself actually playing all the way through to the end? Because this would be, I mean, it's a meaty game. There's a lot to it.
I mean, if they patch the game where I'm able to put my VR headset on and go like this
Nobody plays VR, Derek. Nobody plays VR.
to play Final Fantasy XII, then yes. If they do not patch the VR so I can play it like this, then
Play Fantasy Danger Ball.
Final Danger Ball Fantasy.
Ugh. Gross.
Ooh.
Yes, I would like to. I look at it this way. I have only a little bit of time in July right now, and then you guys got more time than me, apparently. But I've only got a little bit of time in July right now. And then August is where, and Tim and I talked about this a few weeks ago. Tim was like, I ain't got nothing in August, and he did say it like that. And I have
I don't
like
speak good.
I
I ain't got nothing.
I ain't got nothing. But I've got a ton of games. Like I'm gonna play. Dang it! What's that stupid sword game?
Hellblade.
Hellblade. I'm gonna play that, and then I've got Agents of Mayhem. I'm thinking about getting that on PC. So there's a ton of stuff coming out in August. So this game,
That's 2.
there's more. I'm just not. Do you want me to
So
list
many
them?
games.
I figured
No,
you
I'm
would
just
get
messing with
angry
you.
at me if I started
I'm
listing
just
them.
messing with you.
With
For
what-
me, it's just Hellblade, and then at the end of August, it's Mario and
I
Rabbids.
always
So
know when Tim's rushing me. He'll be like, "Answer this question in 1.5 words."
Answer me
I
now.
see-
Do it now.
I see the next 6 weeks as being relatively open, with the exception of Hellblade, which is supposed to be a pretty short game. So I see myself finishing this game.
Yeah.
Totally.
I
got nothing
think
to
I
test.
think I will play it though. I have a general desire to, I should say a genuine, not a general, a genuine desire to replay this game. Again, I did not finish it the first time, but I did adore it. Like anytime people would talk about Final Fantasy XII, and that was one of the things I did want to talk about, but we don't have to do it now because we're running a little late. But it was a game that there was really not a lot of middle to. There wasn't a lot of people that are like, "Oh, Final Fantasy XII is pretty good." You either like hated it or you loved it, and I fell into
Totally.
the love category, even though I didn't finish it, because I just, like I was saying earlier, I loved the party. I thought the combat was pretty good. I don't know how I'll feel about the combat now, because now that I've played more Final Fantasy games, I do like the old school. But obviously, with Final Fantasy 15 being my favorite, I do prefer the more, and I know 15 and 12 are not the same at all, but I
They're
do
not.
prefer that more action, in
Gotcha.
your face, constant movement. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested. Let me start playing it. Maybe I'll get a few hours in and be like, you know what? I liked it back then. Now I don't really care, and I might quit. But I do want to at least try it.
Well, and just so we're clear to anyone who's listening who's not familiar with the game, it is an active time battle system, but it still is, again, if you've played an MMO, you know exactly what this feels like. You assign your next action.
Yeah, it's kind
and
of
then
to
your
me like
character
Knights of
carries
the
it
Old
out.
Republic. Knights of the
Yeah,
Old
your character
Republic, you
carries-
hit
you
a
don't
button.
hit the button and swing your sword.
Yeah, in Knights of the Old Republic, you tell the game what to do. And
Right.
again, I don't know if Final Fantasy XII does this, but I can move my character wherever I want.
Yes,
So I'm
you
like
can.
running around, and then
Yep.
it'll do the strike or whatever.
Yep,
Right.
as you have a little active time bar that fills up.
Yeah.
And as that fills up, once it's to the max, it'll carry out whatever that action was that was queued. And that's usually, a lot of it's timing too. When I notice that another character just attacked, but someone else needs a potion, I'll usually have that character who just attacked do the potion, so I don't waste any active time battle meters that have been filled. Because if you assign a new activity in the middle of their meter filling up, it'll automatically reset their meter. So there's some management there to be aware of too, some strategy just to kind of keep in mind as you're playing it too. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm actually looking forward to playing it tonight. And I'll tell you what, I'll say it again, guys. If this game were on the Switch, I'd probably have beaten it already. Because it's tougher to finish a game that takes up the whole living room. Like when I have to play this game, I have to take up the whole living room. I take up
Well,
the TV,
you
and I
could
take
play
it all
this
up.
one on the Vita, right?
I could
This
do
one
it
you
off
could play
screen.
on the Vita, yeah.
Any
Yeah.
PS4 games, mobile.
No, but I'm talking about
mobile.
Vita has control limitations. So and that's why I got in a fight online, like I always do. I got in a fight with these stupid
No.
people
You?
trying to tell me that the playing with their Vita using their PS4 is the same as the Switch. And I'm like, that's
not.
hot garbage. You cannot
not,
play
but-
a game like Destiny and it feel right. It's stupid.
No, but I remember when I was doing Witcher 3, you can't do regular Witcher 3 combat, but you can do any kind of exploration you want to do, or you could do a lot of Gwent. I played a lot of Gwent matches on my Vita while I was playing The Witcher 3.
But Final
And so
Fantasy 12, I think
this could
you could do it. You could
Yeah,
do it.
you could do it.
I mean, you could
That's a
also
good
buy
point.
that attachment for the Vita that does give you the L2 and R2, but you know,
No. Mm-mm. I'm not
just
doubling down on that.
just a
sort
hot
of system.
tip. Just a hot tip.
No.
How
no hot
much
tips
is
from
it,
you.
Daniel Freitas?
Oh, I have no idea.
Then it's not a hot tip.
yeah.
It's
It's
trash
not a hot
tip.
tip.
It's
That's
a sexy tip. It's real
that's
sexy.
TGT. That's trash garbage.
All right, close this
Tip.
stupid
Okay.
junk trash app.
All right, well, that does it for us for episode 81. Daniel, thank you so much for being here to talk Final Fantasy 12. We do. I mean, if you haven't picked up on it, people, we recommend this game. We recommend that you play it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I've put
So-
so many hours into it. Play it.
It is not a
That's right.
bad game. Don't listen to all the people that said that it was the start of the downfall of Square. It is definitely a quality game.
It's a very quality game. 13 was the problem. 12 was
Yes,
great.
Exactly.
I like 13, so shush.
Actually,
That's 'cause
really,
you're
11 was
stupid.
the problem. I feel like 12 was being developed at the same time. 11 really messed things up because
Yeah.
it's not
I
even
still
a
blame
real Final
13 though.
Fantasy game. Yeah.
I still blame. 13.
All right. Well, that does it for episode 81. Thank you guys so much for listening. Derek and Daniel, thanks for your time. We'll see you guys next week.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Cloud was very upset that he didn't make it on the rest of the episode.
Sorry, Cloud.
Well, Cloud's voice sounded exactly like DFC's, so there was really no reason for him to be on.
Yeah. Daniel's like, hey, Cloud. Cloud goes, hey, Daniel.
Wow. It's really good voiceover work.